Meet Demantas. Demantas made $48,000 in 2 months dropshipping a beard straightener. He's been dropshipping since 2015 and runs multiple successful dropshipping businesses. However, he built Buff Beard Club as a case study to teach beginner dropshippers like you exactly how to succeed. This video is part 2 and covers everything to do with Demantas' Facebook ads. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, I'll link it down in the description box below. Make sure to watch it first and then come back to this video. In today's video, you're gonna learn a step-by-step guide to setting up $5 a day ad sets, how to find interest that actually converts, and finally, how to tell if your ads are actually working or not. Let's not waste any more time and jump straight into it. Facebook ads can feel impossible to learn about, understand, and actually do. That's why we've converted this little video and Demantas' Facebook ads tips into a bit of a lazy guide. Lazy as in, I asked Demantas to explain his entire Facebook ad strategy to me, and I copied it step by step so you too can follow the exact same strategy. It's a lot simpler than I thought. If you want to skip the intro and go straight to the walkthrough of setting up the first Facebook ad set, I'll leave a time code right over here so that you can jump straight to that part of the video. Don't go!
Please don't go. Please don't go.
Dropshipping in 2021 looks a little different than it did a few years ago. With the rise of new marketing platforms like TikTok and Snapchat ads, dropshippers are no longer limited to running ads on Facebook or Instagram anymore. And let's be honest, Facebook Business Manager is confusing to even try and log into. So I asked Demantas because I just needed to know, why Facebook ads when there's so many other amazing marketing platforms out there?
The answer is quite simple. I believe that Facebook is doing a very, very great job at finding potential customers for your products and your dropship business in general. Also, one more thing is that really comes into my mind and into this, dropshipping world in this particular age, is that it's all about the speed and how fast you can test your different approaches, products, creatives, and all of that awesome stuff. And the thing is, Facebook is really great at finding high quality customers for your products, because if you're making money, obviously Facebook is making money as well. And again, they can do that really, really fast. And that is why I believe Facebook is the #1 traffic source for a business.
Let's break that down. To have a successful dropshipping store, you need to find a successful winning product. The best dropshippers don't assume that their first product is going to be a winner. Instead, they prepare to test multiple products before they find one that actually works. Facebook allows you to do that fast. Over the last few years, Facebook's technology has gotten extremely good at finding customers for businesses. If you don't believe me, remember this. Facebook is a business. Whenever you buy ads on their platform, they're making money. Facebook wants you to buy more ads, but to buy more ads, you do need to be successful. So you need to trust that Facebook is actually trying to help you as much as they can. Now, I know some of you are sitting on the other side of the screen thinking, if Facebook is so easy, Magda, how come I still don't get it and how come I still don't have any sales? And trust me, I've been there before too.
Trust me, I know what I'm doing.
Mindset really, and how you're approaching little things, because there are a lot of different tutorials online covering Facebook ads. There are a bunch of strategies out there that work for some people, and others would say that the X strategy is not working for me. And I would say that it is not really the fault for the guru or for YouTube tutorial or the course itself. Actually, every single strategy works, but when you get so many different ways to learn things, you're kind of not sure what to do next, right? And I've been there myself, right? And you just say that maybe I'll just start running ads tomorrow, but in reality, you are just procrastinating your way from actually getting started, or even, to sticking to one plan or resource only.
Demantas has worked with hundreds of dropshipping students, and he's pinpointed Facebook fatigue to 2 things: analysis paralysis and procrastination. Analysis paralysis happens when you have too many resources, too many YouTube videos, and you have no idea how to start. On top of that, you're scared of wasting money, you're scared to even log into Facebook Business Manager, and so instead you decide to watch some other YouTube videos and figure, you'll start Facebook ads tomorrow. DeMontis believes that the best strategy is to pick one and get started. If you were looking for a sign, this is it. Let's go. Just as a reminder, DeMontis has been dropshipping for multiple years and currently runs multiple successful dropshipping stores. He uses this exact same strategy for any niche or any type of product that he's dropshipping. So, when I said lazy guide, I meant it. Get out a notebook and make sure to copy this step by step for your own store. Step 1 is to jump into your Facebook Ads Manager, create a campaign, and set the objective to conversions. Some YouTube, Facebook gurus out there will set this to engagement or traffic just to test products and see if they're popular first, but Facebook is pretty smart. So when you're getting started, it's good to set it to conversions because you want to let Facebook know that you're not looking for traffic, you're looking for sales. Step 2 is to leave campaign budget optimization turned off. When you're advertising on Facebook, you can choose to set your budget to either an ad set level or a campaign level. If that's a little confusing to you, don't worry too much about it.
Don't worry about it.
Simply put, DeMontis suggests leaving campaign budget optimization turned off in the beginning. This is because it gives you more control of your ad sets and it allows you to see which interests are actually profitable. Don't worry, he actually uses CBO later on to scale his Facebook ads, and we'll get to that. So for now, leave CBO turned off and keep it moving. Step 3 is to create your first ad set. And DeMontis has a very simple procedure to follow. First, set your budget to $5 a day. Yes, you heard that right. This strategy uses $5 a day ad sets when you're getting started to test your interests. When DeMontis was first teaching me his Facebook ad strategy to teach you, I wondered if he had set $5 a day ad sets because he wanted to make it budget friendly, like a lot of our audience requests, or if he had all the money in the world, would he still test his interest with $5 a day ad sets? Interestingly enough, he said,
I would still start with a $5 per day ad set, yes. Since, again, it really gives me the opportunity to quickly and within the budget to test how the product works with Facebook ads. If, again, like for example, if you gave me like $1 million on Facebook ads, I would still do $5 per day ad sets. But again, don't get me wrong, it is really not enough to only have one $5 per day ad set. You need to have more interest to test. When we are talking about ad sets, we are talking about interest. And the interest itself is some sort of behavior, page, or anything like that. So like a quick example I would give to you is like a beard is an interest that you can target on Facebook, right? It's really important to test as much as possible, but once again, I would still go with a $5 per day ad sets and see how Facebook reacts to it. And again, Facebook is really fast to generate data, and within a couple of days you can see some sort of data and how you really want to react to it. Whether to kill the ad set or you want to duplicate it or you want to scale it, whatever.
Next, you're going to need to create an audience. Now, this is where a lot of beginners freak out, but don't. DeMontis has a freakishly simple procedure to follow. The first step is to set your location to the countries that you want to ship to. Now, pre-COVID, DeMontis normally set this to any of the e-packet countries, but because e-packet right now is not actually the most popular shipping method, and most people are using AliExpress standard shipping, you can set the location to worldwide. Or if you just want to target the United States or the top 4 countries, you can do so as well. Next, when it comes to age and gender, leave those open. Trust me, even if you think you have a product that is just catered towards women or men, leave it completely open to both men and women, 18 to 65 plus. Next, turn off the expand interest checkbox. More on this in a bit. Now it's time to pick interests, or should I say, a single interest. DeMontis only tests one interest per ad set. This allows him to test to see which interests are profitable before he starts pumping more money into them. This is very important, so I'm going to repeat it again. Deimantas only tests one interest per ad set. However, within that one campaign, he's going to create 6 different ad sets with one interest each. This is incredibly important to understand because this allows Deimantas and yourself to test interests individually and not have data be skewed because multiple interests are combined. Now, if you're feeling a little bit worried and not sure what interest to choose, trust me, I've been there too. When I got started with Facebook ads, I was putting tons of... Sorry, the train. Now, if you're starting to get a little worried, don't be. When I was a beginner and I was just getting started with Facebook ads, interests really made me want to pull my hair out. I wanted to pick multiple. How many do you have to pick? How big should your audience be? I was so worried about all these little details. And when Deimantas took me through this process, I was shocked at how simple it was. When Deimantas is picking interests for his stores, he keeps it simple. Whatever comes to mind, the absolute basic words related to your product or niche, use those. To give you an example, on the screen, you can see the different interests that Deimantas used when he successfully made almost $50,000 in 2 months selling a beard straightener. That's right, he went with interests such as beard or interests such as shaving in different ad sets. His strategy is to keep it simple. Whatever basic word comes to mind, test it out as an interest. Interestingly enough, beard and shaving, the absolute most obvious interest you can imagine, and I'm sure interests you could have come up with even if you're a complete beginner, were actually the ones that ended up being the most profitable for him. Now, once you have your audience filled out, you can move on to placements. Placements is where you want Facebook to display your ad, whether that be on an Instagram feed, the Facebook news feed, Facebook Messenger, and so on. A lot of pro dropshippers and dropshipping gurus on YouTube will only suggest, for example, mobile placements, or they'll only stick to Facebook and not put them on Instagram. And everyone seems to have their own placements that they stick with. Now, remember what Deimantas said earlier in the video. None of those strategies are wrong, but what is really important is for you to pick one and stick with it. I will be honest, Deimantas' strategy is one of the easiest I've seen so far. His strategy is to leave the placements on automatic. Now, after all the different placement strategies I've heard about and seen from different YouTubers, I needed to ask, why automatic?
If we are talking about placements, I don't worry about this part at all. Facebook is basically going to decide which placements are working best for you, and 90% of the time it's probably going to be like mobile, like a Facebook newsfeed placement. But again, you never know. Facebook knows, but you don't know about it. You may get a sale from Messenger, but again, it's like you cannot tell, from the start, from the beginning when you are starting to test the particular product. Facebook is going to spend like the most amount of money on what is actually working for you, and it will not spend the money where it's not working. It's simple as that. Again, then you are starting out, you don't really know anything about your audience, to be quite frank, right? For example, beard straightener. Obviously, there are people who would say that someone, like younger wouldn't buy it, or women won't buy it. So one particularly interesting fact about my particular store was, and this product, is that 70% of all the purchasers were females. Since, again, this was a present for the males, for their husbands, for, their friends and stuff like this. So they got an attention, and they caught the attention on Facebook newsfeed, and they just bought it. Again, this is just a really plain example that you never know what will work, but Facebook might know. So this is where I would really try to make it as broad as possible.
The best dropshippers that make the most money know that Facebook is an extremely powerful tool. And in the beginning, they let Facebook do its thing. Of course, later on, when any of these pros are scaling or they really want to target a specific interest, things get a little more intricate. But if you're just getting started, you do not need to get so detailed, and you need to kind of lay off and let Facebook do its thing. Anyways, leave your placements on automatic, leave delivery and optimization the way that they are, and click next. Now we're at step 4, which for Deimantas is one of the most important steps for profitable Facebook ads.
The other part is your ad creative. Now, in the past, I always thought that targeting is the single most important thing when starting out and when testing a product on Facebook, right? Like age, interests, country, placements, anything like that, right? But with today's Facebooks, these things really don't even matter. Facebook has so much data to work with as we really know their customer really, really well, since this is how they are making their money, right? They really know what their customers want, and now your job here is to learn on how to create awesome ad creatives, meaning, image ad or video, and how to basically create those, right? So for your particular product. This is something that your potential customers will see, then they will be scrolling on Facebook. And again, it really needs to be awesome and professional and something that they probably haven't seen before.
Demantis highly recommends making your own custom content for your Facebook ad creatives. Ad creatives can definitely make or break the success of your Facebook ad. So Demantis suggests testing multiple creatives, such as one video and one image, or two videos, or multiple videos and images. When Demantis is running ads, he normally tests one video and one image, and then another video and a second image. I was dying to see the actual video ad that made Demantis $48,000 in 2 months, and he kindly is sharing it with myself and you guys today. Here is the winning ad creative that made Buff Beard Club so successful. As you can see, it's all about catching the customer's attention, showing and explaining the product, and keeping it short and sweet. If you got a little confused by all the ad sets and how they're laid out, here's a quick little diagram of exactly how Demantis always structures his initial campaign with 6 ad sets. Go ahead and screenshot this image so that you can refer back to it when you're in Facebook Ads Manager yourself. Remember that there's one campaign with 6 different ad sets, and each ad set is $5 a day with 1 interest and 2 creatives. Once you have this all set up, you're going to be spending about $30 a day. That's a lot lower than the people in Facebook groups that say you need at least $5,000 to start running ads on Facebook. Demantis runs these initial ads for about 2 to 3 days because this is the initial testing phase where you're just looking for interests that are actually profitable. Now, here's a beginner question that you have, I have, and almost every dropshipper out there has had before. How do you know if your Facebook ads are working or not?
So I kind of try to follow my strict process just because I really don't want to fall in love with one particular product. I don't want to waste too much time and money on a product that is not working. That's, the biggest challenge that everyone is probably going to see when starting out. So I like to test products for 2 to 3 days at a maximum and to basically look at a couple of things. This is like probably where you're going to spend around $60 to $80 in 2 to 3 days. For example, in my beard straightener store, in this particular case study store, like what I did is I really wanted to stick with products that are less than $50. I tested 5 products before I found a winner, this particular straightener, and now within these 2 to 3 days, I was looking if this particular product campaign has sales, right? This is like the most common thing and the most important thing that you should look for with your product. If it doesn't have sales, and that is also really common, I would go to and check if this particular product and this campaign has any add to carts or initiate checkouts, right? If it doesn't have anything at all after 2 to 3 days, after spending $60 to $80, I would just turn it off and move to other products because again, I really do not want to waste any time and money on this particular product, right? One more thing is that if after the first day I see that my CPC, which is like cost per click, is higher than $1 or so, I just move on from the product and try other ones, as I don't want to waste any more time with it, right? Because $1 CPC is quite high. It is going to be really, really simple for everyone, for anyone, after a couple of weeks of testing and seeing how different things come together, right? Because it's really all about the testing. And when you get into that rhythm of testing on how you test the products, how to you move from one product to another, how you test different creatives, how you test different angles, this is where you kind of gonna see how different things work together, and this is where you will basically start seeing winners as well. Believe me.
After 2 to 3 days, if you see a sale, you've got a winning interest.
You win. Perfect.
If you don't, that's okay. Go ahead and take a look at the other data available. Do you have any add to carts? If you are seeing some promise with some interest and people are really engaging with them, Demantas usually lets the ad run for another 2 to 3 days to see if it becomes profitable. But do not fall in love with your ad sets. If you've been running ads for about 4 to 5 days and you're still not seeing any sales, then go ahead and turn those ad sets off. There are always more interests to try. If you happen to have 1 out of the 6 or 2 out of the 6 working, Demantas has a really great strategy for finding more.
For example, like in my particular case, one interest was working really, really well after the first or the second day, and it was shaving. And what I did, I just went over and duplicated that particular ad set with this particular interest. And again, I went over to suggestions field in Facebook Ads Manager, and I picked the first one that I haven't picked up before with my initial testing interest, right? So I just pick it and publish the ad set with the same $5 per day budget and see how it goes with this new suggested interest.
Demantas continues to find and test interests that are related to the ones that are working for him. So when he found that beard was an interest that was actually profitable, he jumped into the ad set, clicked suggestions, and then looked at those related interests to test those as well. So let's say you actually did get a sale and you are finally starting to see some success with your interests, which if you are, congratulations, because that is a huge accomplishment. The next question is, how do you scale?
So after checking my data in Facebook Ads Manager, looking into particular interests and how do they perform, you would probably see around 20 or so sales after the first 5 days or so. Could be less, could be more. Again, it's really not a ballpark figure to look for, but you will see ad sets and interests that are working really, really well at this particular stage. They will be obvious because they're gonna stick out, really, really obvious. And you need to be sure that at least a couple of ad sets has 5 or more sales. This way, you want it to be somewhat proven, right? And in my particular case, I had around 16 sales with a shaving interest, so I wanted to scale it fast. Now, what I did next is I went over and duplicated it into its own CBO campaign 5 times. Meaning, now in a new CBO campaign, and for like example, let's call it shaving-scale, I have five ad sets with the same interest, and I set the budget to $50 per day for the entire CBO campaign, because again, CBO is where you are basically setting your budget to the whole campaign, not for individual ad sets. Now, you may be asking, what the hell? Why 5 same interests within the same campaign? Now, Facebook has a different pool of people that are going to engage with your product differently each and every time. By having 5 same interests within the same CBO campaign, it really allows you to make sure you are covering every single pool of it. Again, if it's somewhat confusing for you, because it might be, don't really worry about it. I mean, it's working for me really, really well, and every single time I'm doing the same exact strategy, and I'm really not changing anything at all. So if I'm finding some interest that is really working well for me, basically what I'm doing is just duplicating it 5 times into its own CBO campaign and set the budget to $50 per day. Again, since you have this new CBO campaign, you don't really want to forget your initial testing campaign and interest in there, because they are really, really valuable. And because if you're only going to, like, let's say, scale 1 or 2 interests, it's not really a scaling, because you're only working with 2 interests, and that's not enough. Make sure to keep an eye on searching and starting a new ad sets with new interests every day, meaning, in this, like, for example, initial testing campaign where you had like 6 or 7 or more ad sets, you basically keep on testing them, and just basically seeing if one particular ad set is like generating some sales. You want to duplicate it again, and basically you want to duplicate it, and from the suggestions field select the most obvious interest, and basically set it to $5 per day. So basically, this is what we did before, and this is again what you want to do with this, within your initial testing campaign, right? So keep on doing this and finding new and fresh interests, because this way you're going to find new ways and new pools to basically scale your product.
To recap, once DeMantis finds a winning interest, he turns it into its own CBO campaign. Remember we talked about CBO campaigns earlier? At this point, because he's been able to see that interests are profitable, now he trusts Facebook to distribute the budget on the campaign level. So he takes this ad set, creates its own campaign with the CBO turned on, and then duplicates it 5 times. He duplicates it multiple times because Facebook always gives people's interests their own pool of an audience. So this way, he's able to cover more ground of that audience. He sets the budget to around $50 a day. Then he sits back and lets Facebook work its magic. After 2 months, DeMantis spent about $20,000 on Facebook ads and made about $48,000 in total revenue. Now, there's a lot more that goes into scaling your Facebook ads, but we didn't want to include it in this video because we didn't want to overwhelm you and confuse you. Besides, this is the lazy guide for getting started and trying to get to your first sale. If you'd like a more detailed breakdown about how DeMantis scales his Facebook ads, please let me know down in the comments below. I hope that you found this video helpful and were able to see that although Facebook ads can be extremely confusing, they can also be pretty simple if you know what steps to follow. If you found this video helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. That way we know that you like these types of videos and want to see more of them. And until next time, happy hustling.